Welcome to understand SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. Create cities and communities that are safe, inclusive, environmentally resilient, and offer affordable housing for all. Let's review about SDG 11.
You know, the world actually has a blueprint for the perfect city. It's a plan for a future that's sustainable, safe, and works for everyone. But what happens when that ideal plan smacks right into the chaotic reality of explosive urban growth? Well, we're about to find out. We're taking this global blueprint to one of the most demanding test sites on the entire planet.
Okay, let's start with just one number, 10 million. That is the estimated housing shortage in Pakistan cities right now. Think about that. 10 million families without a proper place to call home. I want you to keep that number in your head because it's the very human cost at the heart of the story we're about to tell.
So, why this huge focus on cities? Well, because for the first time ever, more than half of all humanity lives in one. They're really the battleground where the future of our planet is going to be won or lost. And here's the central paradox of our time. Cities are these incredible engines of opportunity, right? It's where jobs are made, cultures explode, innovation just sparks. But they're also these pressure cookers of extreme inequality, pollution, and vulnerability to big shocks like climate change. It's a real double-edged sword, and it's exactly why the world decided we needed a plan.
And yup, that plan has a name, Sustainable Development Goal 11, or SDG 11 for short. The easiest way to think about it is like the world's shared instruction manual, a blueprint that all these nations agreed on to build cities that work for people and for the planet.
So what's the big idea here? Well, it really boils down to four powerful concepts, making our cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And listen, these aren't just buzzwords. Each one is backed by specific, measurable targets. Let's just take a quick look at a few of the most important ones.
First up, Target 11.1. And this goes right back to that number we started with, 10 million. The goal is simple, but it's also profound. Make sure everyone has access to a decent, safe, and affordable place to live. And this isn't just about building new houses. It's about upgrading slums and really treating housing as a fundamental human right.
Okay, next, how do we all get around? Target 11.2 is all about creating transport systems that are safe, affordable, and sustainable. The really crucial thing here is the focus on expanding public transport. Moving away from systems that pretty much only serve people who can afford a car. And of course, a city can't be sustainable if it's choking on its own fumes and literally buried under its own trash. Target 11.6 takes this head on, aiming to slash the environmental footprint of cities by tackling two of the most obvious problems, air quality and waste management.
So, there you have it, the blueprint, a really ambitious global plan. But how does it actually hold up in the real world? To find out, we are taking it to our case study, Pakistan.
So why Pakistan? Well, because it is right on the front lines of global urbanization. Almost 39% of its entire population already lives in cities, and that number is growing at a truly breathtaking pace. This isn't some problem for the future. It's happening right now.
All of this makes the country a perfect high-stakes test case for SDG 11. I mean, if this global blueprint can work in the sprawling, under-resourced, and rapidly expanding cities of Pakistan, it can probably work anywhere. But can it? To really get what's going on, we can't just look at one single problem. We have to see how they're all connected. So we're going to frame this as a tale of several distinct but deeply intertwined crises. This is where that global blueprint meets the hard reality on the ground. We have to start with crisis number one, shelter. And this brings us right back around to that 10 million housing unit deficit. It's a crisis of homes, sure, but it's also a crisis of dignity and basic human services. And this table really shows you the massive disconnect. On one side, you've got the staggering problem, that huge housing deficit and the spread of these informal settlements, which are known as Kachar bodies. Then, on the other side, you've got the policy response, like the Naya Pakistan Housing Authority. But here's the critical gap. These programs, as well-intentioned as they are, often require down payments or loan qualifications that the poorest families simply cannot meet. So they're locked out of the very solutions that were designed for them. Which leads us to crisis number two, mobility. I mean, if you can't afford a home near your job, how are you supposed to get there? For millions of people in Pakistan cities, the answer is with extreme difficulty. This chart tells you the whole story in one simple picture. The number of private cars and motorcycles is just exploding,
while actual, affordable public transport is critically low. A megacity like Karachi, we're talking over 17 million people, went for decades without any functional mass transit system at all. This isn't just an inconvenience, it literally chokes the city's economy and its air.
And that brings us directly to crisis number 3, the environment. This might be the most visible and, frankly, the most dangerous failure of urban management.
And look, that isn't an exaggeration. It's a statement of fact, and it's backed by global air quality data. For months out of the year, living in cities like Lahore means you are breathing toxic air. It's created a massive public health emergency that affects everyone, but especially kids. And once again, you see that gap between policy and reality. The problems are just immense. Less than 60% of solid waste is even collected, and most of what is collected just gets dumped in open sites. In response, you've got provincial waste management boards and new local plans, but they're fighting a losing battle against decades of underinvestment and just huge gaps in infrastructure.
So where are all these new people living? Well, that creates crisis number 4, sprawl. Instead of growing up, these cities are growing out, and they're doing it uncontrollably.
The growth is just completely unplanned and chaotic. This kind of expansion is incredibly inefficient. It eats up valuable farmland and makes it basically impossible for basic infrastructure, water, electricity, roads, to keep up. And the problem is made even worse by what's called a first city bias, where all the development gets so heavily focused on one major city, like Lahore, that it acts like a giant magnet, pulling in even more people and worsening the very problems of sprawl and congestion.
So all of this brings us to the fundamental question. We have the global blueprint, we have national policies. So after seeing all these cascading crises, you have to ask, why is there such a massive gap between what we intend to do and what actually happens? Why is the plan failing on the ground?
Well, it really boils down to 3 core reasons. First, just the sheer, overwhelming speed of urbanization. I mean, no system could easily keep up with that. Second, a chronic and severe lack of funding to build the infrastructure you need. And third, and this is perhaps the most important one, deep-seated governance issues. That means the institutions that are supposed to be doing the planning and management are often under-resourced, they don't have enough power, and they're unable to enforce their own rules.
And so we end with this thought. The blueprint itself isn't the problem. It tells us exactly what a good city looks like. One with homes for everyone, with clean air, with ways for people to get around. The real question is about the follow-through. What does it actually take to bridge that enormous gap between a plan on a piece of paper and a livable, sustainable, and just city for millions and millions of people? That is the challenge, not just for Pakistan, but for our entire urban world.
Thanks for your time to learn, earn, and lead. This is Mohammad Zishan Awan, Advocate High Court. To join Vision 2047, please register with us and be part of the transformation.